Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Ramadan is one of the holiest times for the Muslims, not only because they are doing a particular kind of worship, because they may fast outside of Ramadan, but also because historically it's the month in which the Quran started. And that is why this is a very special month for the Muslims. This time we're going to talk about the physical impacts of fasting. So it may seem a kind of punishment, but Allah says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wants easy things for you, not difficult things. In other words, Allah does not want to make life difficult for you. He wants you to benefit. So when Allah says, do something, it's not to be taken as a kind of punishment or a way of telling you to suffer and suffer. No. We just are often too short-sighted to understand. And now we know that fasting is a very, very good way of keeping our health or improving it, etc. Now, it has always been understood as such, but in new times, modern sciences and modern medicine have made it even more evident, whether to the Muslims or non-Muslims, that fasting is certainly a very healthy activity. Now, in new findings, they tell you that fasting is a very good thing for the body, and it heals you of a number of ills. Recently, there was a scientific discovery proving that fasting should be done. Here I'm not talking about particularly about Ramadan, it's fasting in general. They said that the body needs to be pushed to hunger at least 2 times a week. And that's something that we find in Islam. The Prophet used to fast Mondays and Thursdays, and he gave us the reasons why he did it Mondays and Thursdays. Otherwise, any 2 days will do. Now, we're not talking about just 2 days. We're talking about fasting in general. And here, it's a whole month. So what does that have to do with fasting 29 or 30 days a year? That is something that science is still working to discover. So there's no rush. We'll wait for scientists to find out the virtues of 29 or 30 days a year, in addition to what they have already found out, 2 days a week. Now, of course, fasting can be understood in different ways. Some people say, well, if you go thirsty, that harms your body, that harms your kidneys, etc. That has not been proven beyond any skepticism yet. So fasting in the Islamic sense means going without water as well. And that has not been proved to harm the body among Muslims. Even children do it without any problem. And of course, I'm not talking about the sick. We can talk about those in a moment. Fasting has been found to increase and improve the immunity of the body. And that is particularly interesting these days. Muslims as well as non-Muslims are calling for fasting as one of many ways of fighting or staving off COVID-19. Whether I have it or not, fasting is good for me. So this is something that Islam has called for without telling us that it's good for the immunity. All it says that it is something good for the body as well as for the soul. Now there are protocols that we can follow for the ideal fasting. The Prophet said, my community, my ummah will always be good as long as they delay sahur and they break the fast quickly. Sahur comes from sahar. Sahar is the time that describes the third part of the night. And sahur is that food that we take at that time. This is not found in other cultures, but in the Islamic culture, the word sahar, sahur, tasahara, all these are derivatives of the same root, and they all have to do with that time and the act of eating at that time. So the Prophet says you should delay sahur as much as possible. That is to say, you should not take it 2, 3, 4 hours before dawn. Make it as close to dawn as possible. He also says, eat your breakfast, break your fast. Here by breakfast, I mean the breaking of the fast of Ramadan, which is at sunset. So sunset come, you have to stop the fast and begin preferably with dates, if you don't find any dates, with water. And dates have been proved to have a very simple kind of sugar that goes quickly to the veins, and it's the simplest way and the easiest way for the body to recover its energy. Remember that the longer the day, the smaller the amount of sugar in the liver we have. So when you eat dates, you quickly make up for the loss of that amount of sugar. Water is also very important because it, as it were, wets the veins. We say that as a metaphor. Of course, it doesn't mean that the water goes to the blood, but it is something that is understood to be very important for the body, and it helps you and your kidneys and your veins and your blood and your all the systems of your body and your brain as well to get back to the vitality that they might have lost during the last parts of the day. Of course, at lunchtime, at the usual lunchtime, you start sometimes hearing your stomach singing and you start smelling bad. That's something understood from the fact that at a certain time the stomach starts secreting enzymes to digest the food that it usually receives at that time. So do not worry about that smell. There's nothing unhealthy about it. There's nothing wrong. And remember, Allah says, the smell, the bad smell that comes out of the mouth during the fasting is better to God than the smell of musk. So don't worry about that. The angels are not going to be chased away from you because of that. In fact, they love it because Allah loves it. So for health reasons, the only thing you have to do is delay the sahur and take your iftar as quickly as possible. The other thing about fasting is that once you go without food, you get rid of the fat of the body, the unnecessary fat of the body. You get rid of all the bad things that have been put on layers, on unnecessary and obnoxious layers on your body. So little by little you wash away those things. You rinse your body of those things, and you make your body as light as possible, as healthy as possible. Now, that being said, fasting should no longer be looked to as a detrimental thing to the body. In fact, people don't like it because we are generally greedy. We want to eat, we want to drink, we want to enjoy the pleasures of food. Nothing wrong with that. But in Ramadan, you have to just delay that until sundown. And that is something that gives you lots of benefits, physical benefits, before the spiritual ones. So inshallah, we will stop here and we will continue our discussion on the virtues of fasting next time. Until then, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you.